Fourth in the points, one win this year. Also the main winner of the NASCAR Nationwide Series race here, and will be running in that race here this weekend as well. Carl, talk about how practices have gone for you and your outlook here at Dover this weekend.
Practices have gone very well. I lost my voice a little bit, so that's why I sound like this. But practices have gone great. I really love racing here. It's a fun racetrack. We were just watching the replays of our of Matt's win in the Cup Series earlier this year. We felt like we had a car that could win that race, and practice has gone really well today. I feel like we picked up right where we left off. We've got one of, if not the fastest car, so that's good. And nationwide practice went really well. It looks like Brad is really fast, and we're fast too, so we should have a good race there. That should be a lot of fun. Ricky's really fast as well, so it's I think that's going to be a great race. I hope that the weather holds off for tomorrow.
If you have questions for Carl, let us know. We've got a wireless mic for you here. Name and affiliation before you ask, please.
Mike Muller. You've had big win seasons, 8 wins, 9 wins, and stuff like that, so you know how to win big. But
right.
This year you've only won one time, and that was that one at Las Vegas that Tony dominated. I mean, you could have won a lot, but you're not winning big, and yet you've got the best finishing record of anybody in the garage area. So I'm a little confused. You got a fast car, you know how to win big. It's like you got some strategy here that's like long-term strategy. You don't need any more big win seasons. You need a championship or something.
Yeah, exactly. This is all by design. We said, you know what, we're not going to try to win them. We're just going to go out and lull them into thinking that we're not able to. I think this season has been different than previous seasons in that when you have a dominant car, it is very, very easy to fall victim to someone else's strategy. And I felt like it's interesting. The only race we won this year, we did not dominate. The races that we dominated, we weren't able to win, and it all comes down to that last pit stop. And when you're leading, Matt and I talked about it after he won the race here earlier this year. I called him and I was a little jealous because he won and our car was so fast. And he said, "Man, it's an easy situation for us." He said, "We were running 10th all day, so of course we'll take 2 tires, go see what we can get," and it worked. But if you look at what at Darlington, at that Dover race, I know there were a couple of other races that were, Phoenix, we had a dominant car. I think in the end. I think I lost my. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's on. You can hear me? Oh, okay. It's my ears. So I think that as long as we can just run well, and keep running the way we're running, and we can learn from those ones that we let slip away. I mean, I wouldn't put it past us to win 2 or 3 of these races and then chase But if we don't, at least we know we are running better, But no, it's not by design. It's just the way it is.
I just wondered if you were trying to wait for everybody else to make their mistakes and fall out, and you just kind of.
Well, there's 2 ways to do it. But you kind of have to do them simultaneously. You have to do 2 things. You have to not make any mistakes, but also go as fast as you can. If you watch, guys have just the first 2 races, some guys have put themselves behind through mistakes or miscalculations with fuel. And we can do that just as easily as anyone, but our goal is not to. But at the same time, we are coming here to win these races, and if I have a shot to win this on Sunday, then that's what I'm going for. We're not holding back anything, I guess is a way to put it.
Other questions for Carl? Over here with Kenny, please.
Yeah.
Kenny Bruce with SceneDaily.com. One thing I get, if you wait and let other people have problems, then those that don't have problems are just going to get further ahead of you too, aren't they?
Right.
I mean, to some extent.
That's why I said we're not doing that. We're doing that. Plus, we're going as fast as we can. I mean, I don't know. We go as fast as we can every week.
Now I forgot what my question was.
Okay.
I'll have to come back to you.
All right. So was that just advice then? What the hell was that? Thank you. I really appreciate that. If Tony wins them all, we're all screwed, okay? So
Tom Bowles, frontstretch.com. You came real close to knocking Jimmy off in the spring here, and everybody knows this is a track that Jimmy has been pretty dominant at, the last couple of years. He may have led a lap or two here. So how important is it to really, finish ahead of the 48 or beat the 48 this weekend, make sure that they don't win the race or kind of make a statement, especially since they've been off to kind of a rough start?
It's important to beat them every week, I think. And I think if I'd be lying if I said it does. It doesn't. Of all the cars that you want to finish in front of, you want to finish in front of those guys the most because the last 5 years they've been able to, they've been the guys to beat at the end. But we aren't fixating on them because if you look, there's guys that are quietly, mounting some pretty good charges. Tony's not doing it so quietly, but he's a guy that no one was really talking about as a championship threat until a couple weeks ago. Brad's been really fast. It looked like the Kevin and the 29 car were really good in practice, and I don't think he's historically very good here. So, anything can happen. And with the way these pit calls are going at the end of the race, if you look at what we were talking about earlier, it comes down to the last pit stop. Anyone in the top 15 could snooker everybody and go win this race. So, I guess what I'm saying is, it feels good to beat Jimmy, but I'm trying not to focus on him because he might not be the guy to beat at the end of the chase. You might be the wrong person to focus on.
David Newton, ESPN.com. So what you were talking about earlier as far as being on, I guess, on the right side of fuel mileage in a lot of ways, or the right pit call, is the winner of this chase going to be more lucky than good, you think? Is that played more role than it has in past years?
I guess the fewer races that you determine the championship by, the more luck is involved. So if we were going, but we don't have a point system like we used to. We have a chase, and that's what we've got. And I think that I don't think it's luck either. I don't think a pit call's luck. I think it's easier to make that risky call when you're in 10th and you haven't done anything all day and you think, hey, why not? Let's take 2 tires or no tires or let's gamble. It is easier. But yes, I do feel like we're at a time in the sport right now where it's harder. The fastest car probably wins less than less percentage of the races than they used to because it is harder to pass and it is more dependent on your strategy. It's a really good question. If the pavement, you can always say if though. There's if everything. If the pavement at Darlington were like it used to be, there's no way you could stay out on tires and win the race. If we weren't so aero dependent, there's no way you could get 2 tires here and hold people off for 35 laps. It's the way the racing is, and everybody races under the same rules. So, I'm not gonna live in the past and put the guys down because they want to race because they out strategied us. That's not the right way to look at it. What I have to do is I have to figure out how to win these races, no matter what, whether it's strategy or beating them on and off pit road. If you look at what Brad did at the night race at Bristol, taking advantage of the pit stalls. You can look at that and say, hey, he maybe shouldn't have won that race, or he really should have because he was, they did a good job picking a pit stall and executing that. So I think our racing now is the winner has to do more things right, and there are more things that can take the fastest car and put him back in 5th or 6th. I don't know if I'm answering that right, but you guys see it every week. It's definitely you don't know who's going to win.
Go to Kenny Bruce, who's remembered what he's had to say, and then back to Jim.
You got some more advice? What do you think I should do?
And the next thing you need to do.
Yeah.
Actually, along those lines of what you were just talking about, you've had like 5 top 10s coming into this weekend's race. So you're
Here, at this track?
No, leading into this race. The last 5 races you've had top 10 finishes. So you're obviously running good. If you know you're gonna get a decent finish, are you more liable to not take that gamble, and are you more of a gambler than your crew chief Bob Osborne is? Sometimes I don't know. That's hard. That's a good question, but sometimes I don't even know what the gamble is.
when the caution comes out, I don't know how far we can make it. I don't know how fast guys are running on 2 tires. So it really ends up being in the crew chief's hands, and it's really tough on them, you know. It's really tough on them. But I'd say that I'm kind of since I've been racing these cars, I've always been the guy that says, hey, just, you know, I don't care if we lose a couple spots. Give me 4 tires. I'll make it up. You know, we'll go past these guys. And so it has taken a little bit of a change for me to just say, hey, you know, 2 tires is okay with whatever. You know, it's hard for me to not key that button and say, hey, just give me 4 and we'll make it work. So in that respect, I guess I'm less of a gambler than I need to be.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Carl, when you first walked in, you talked about how good you felt about your car and your chances this weekend. Does any of that change based on a Sunday that's 25 degrees cooler out and windy? I mean, is there any concern that anything that you guys worked on today will dramatically change because of weather conditions on Sunday?
Yeah, you know, the only thing is that the sun went away. I think I can hear Claire B laughing in there. Did you hear that? Must have been really funny. I think the track temp is probably, I mean, I'm just taking a guess at it. I bet it's kind of similar right now with the warmer outside air temperature and no sun as it will be on Sunday. So we're kind of banking on it being similar.
We just want to keep you talking and see how long your voice.
Yeah, I
will hold
breathe
out.
in. I'm like totally breaking down here.
You always hear, you know, people compare how much.
That would be just like you, Newton. Just keep asking questions while I'm
an
here
asshole,
coughing
sorry.
my brains out.
But you always hear people say, how much is it driver versus car now, percentage-wise? Do you have to throw crew chief into that now? Percentage crew chief, percentage driver, percentage car?
I hadn't thought of it like that. You know, that's always the question: is it more car or driver? And I'd say the crew chief is. Well, when you say car, I guess you know you kind of include the crew chief in that. But I see what you're saying. That on race day, the calls that are made. I'd say you're exactly right, and I'd say that's a good way to think of it. You know, the driver's got to do his part. The crew chief has to do his part. You know, or the crew involved in the shop has to build the car. It has to be fast enough. But I think you're right in saying that you will not win these races repeatedly if you don't have the right calls on the pit box. And if you look at the guys who've won races this year, I'd say a huge number. It feels like half or more of the races have been won by a kind of a gutsy pit call. So it does take that crew chief right now.
Mike Mullen again. Following up on that, how do you keep Bob Osborne cool? I mean, you're sort of cool and loose about everything, but he's really tightly wound, and you've been with him for a long time. I mean, how do you keep him from just like cracking up in the middle of a race?
He's been doing really well lately. He's been in a good mood. I still can't believe he sung on the radio. That was insane. So yeah, I think Bob's having fun. But the other day he was, I don't know, it was New Hampshire and we were slow in practice. And I might have been qualified poorly. And he said, he was, you know, not saying much. I said, Bob, come on, man, we can't get frustrated. He said, I don't get frustrated. I get serious and I get to work. I was like, that's pretty cool. You know, he just works hard and he truly cares about it. So I'm just glad to have him as a crew chief. I think he does a really good job, and I believe we understand each other really well. You know, he puts up with me, you know, talking all the time and throwing out all these ideas, and I put up with him, you know, just being serious and working hard and brushing me off all the time. So it's pretty funny that way.